Mother-in-law wants an ugly embroidery she gave us back after 7 years, but I threw it out. My husband defends her. Here's what happened when I finally snapped. It all started 7 years ago, back when we were still in that tiny house. My husband and I had just moved in together, excited to start this new chapter in our lives. We were both working hard, trying to make it feel like home. Then, as a housewarming gift, my mother-in-law, I'll call her Carol for now, gave us this framed embroidered quote. I can still see the moment like it was yesterday. She handed it to me with this beaming smile, almost too proud of her gift. The frame was large, too large for the space we had, and the quote? Don't even get me started. It was one of those overly religious sayings, something like, God is love or faith makes all things possible. Just looking at it made me feel like I was suffocating. I'm not religious, and this wasn't even something that would have been appreciated by my husband, but I couldn't say anything. Carol had this look in her eyes, like she was waiting for my approval. Isn't it beautiful? She said, her voice full of that warm, mom-like sincerity. I could feel my stomach twist as I smiled back at her, nodding. Oh, it's so thoughtful, I managed to say, but inside, I was cringing. I didn't want to upset her, but I also didn't want this thing in my home. It felt like a weight on the wall, something that demanded more attention than it deserved. After that, it was clear. Every time Carol came over, I'd have to hang it up, dust it off, and make sure it was right there in the living room, on display. Whenever she'd ask, "Oh, I hope you're enjoying the quote," I'd smile, but in the back of my mind, all I could think was, I wish it wasn't here. I remember one time she caught me while I was rearranging some things in the living room. Is it still in the same spot? She asked with a proud smile. Yep, just where you left it, I lied through my teeth. The truth? It was never in the same spot. When Carol wasn't around, I'd take it down and hide it in the closet, where I wouldn't have to see it every day. My husband knew how I felt about it, but he never pushed me to hang it back up. He was always the one to brush things off, to avoid causing any drama. So, we went on with our lives, pretending that frame disaster was just another piece of furniture we could ignore. But it wasn't just the quote that bothered me. It was the whole idea behind it, the expectation. Carol had this way of giving gifts that felt like obligations rather than presents. It was like a silent contract. I give you this, and now you owe me your attention, your appreciation, your space. The whole thing left a bad taste in my mouth, and I didn't know how to get rid of it. The worst part? I couldn't even tell my husband how much it bothered me. Every time I brought it up, he'd just laugh it off. It's just a gift, babe. It's no big deal. But it was a big deal. It was a constant reminder of how much I had to bend, how much I had to pretend to be okay with things that were never my choice. I wanted to stand up for myself, but I didn't want to cause a rift between us. So, I kept quiet, dealt with it, and hid the frame whenever Carol wasn't around. But deep down, I knew it wasn't going to stay buried forever. I remember the day the frame broke like it was yesterday. We were in the middle of yet another move, dragging boxes from one house to another, trying to make it feel like home. The thing was, this wasn't our first move, this wasn't even our second. We had bounced around a few times, but this particular move felt different. I was so tired of the packing, tired of pretending like everything was fine, and so tired of that damn embroidered quote. I don't even know how it happened, but I heard this loud crack when I was moving a box from the top shelf. My husband was downstairs with the movers, and I was alone, trying to wrap fragile stuff in newspaper. I looked up and there it was, the stupid framed quote, lying on the floor, the glass shattered. It was like the universe had finally given me permission to get rid of it once and for all. I stood there for a second, just staring at it, and for a split second, I felt this weird relief. I didn't even think twice. I grabbed the broken frame, threw the glass into the trash bag, and shoved the whole thing into a box that was clearly marked, "Don't need." In that moment, I felt free. Free from the obligation to hang it up every time she came over. Free from the guilt I felt for hiding it. I didn't have to keep up the act anymore. I didn't even tell my husband. When he asked about it later, I just shrugged and said, "The frame broke. I didn't think it was worth fixing." He looked disappointed, but there was something else behind his eyes, a relief I couldn't put my finger on. He didn't ask questions, and I didn't offer answers. We both just moved on. It was over. And honestly, I didn't regret it for a second. I swear, if I could count how many times we moved in the past few years, I'd probably lose track around move number 4. We weren't nomads, but we were definitely close. Each new house was supposed to be a fresh start, but each time, the same things followed us: boxes, baggage, and that framed embroidery. Every time we packed, I'd see the frame hidden deep in one of the boxes we never bothered to unpack. At first, I tried to avoid it. I thought, okay, this is a new place, new energy, new life. We'll just leave it in storage, forget about it. But, like clockwork, my husband would joke about it. One day, as we were going through the last few boxes in our new living room, he pulled out the frame still packed up like it was a precious family heirloom and said, "Maybe we should just hide it in the basement forever. That way, it's out of sight, out of mind." I couldn't help but chuckle at the idea. No kidding, I thought, but I didn't say anything out loud. Instead, I just smiled weakly. I'm all for it. Let's forget it exists. Internally, I felt a wave of satisfaction, a quiet relief. It was like I was getting my revenge on the gift by never acknowledging it again. Let's never even think about it again, I thought, letting that silent little victory settle into my chest. We did what we had to do. We hid it. It went into the back of the storage closet, shoved in a box with a bunch of other forgotten knickknacks. My husband joked every time we moved. You sure you don't want to put it up this time? For old time's sake? Each time, I'd wave him off, trying to keep the mood light. Nah, maybe next time, I'd say, all the while knowing the only place that thing would ever see again was the bottom of a box. As we unpacked our new life, I couldn't help but think, if I never see that frame again, it'll be too soon. The rest of our house felt like a clean slate, untouched by that weird obligation. I felt like I was finally free. The thing was, every time we moved, it was like the weight of that frame grew heavier in my mind. I couldn't understand why mother-in-law hadn't let go of it yet. Didn't she get it? It was a gift, not her gift. I didn't want to live in a space that constantly reminded me of the things I had to pretend to like. So, yeah, we kept it tucked away, avoided it, and joked around about it. The basement seemed like the perfect place for it. I wasn't just avoiding it for the sake of avoiding it. It was like my tiny, silent protest against something I had no choice but to accept in the first place. It was a random Tuesday when my husband came home from work and casually dropped the bomb. I was in the middle of cooking dinner, stirring something in the pot, trying to focus on making the night go smoothly, when he suddenly said, "Hey, my mom asked about that framed embroidery." My hands froze mid-stir. I turned to him, trying to keep my face neutral, but I could feel the blood rushing to my cheeks. "What do you mean, asked about it?" I asked, already sensing where this was going. He shrugged, looking uncomfortable. "She just wants to know where it is. She's been asking, like, why isn't it up? If you're not going to hang it, I'll give it to someone else." The words hit me like a slap. She wants it back. I couldn't help the sarcasm that seeped into my voice. "Well, she didn't exactly say that," he replied, rubbing his neck, a nervous tick of his whenever he knew something uncomfortable was coming. "But, yeah, she's asking. I just told her we've moved too many times to keep track of stuff like that." I stared at him, my grip tightening on the spoon in my hand, my mind racing. I was trying to keep my emotions in check, but it wasn't working. "We've moved too many times?" I repeated his words, my heart pounding. Is that really the excuse we're going with? He didn't meet my eyes. "Well, it's true. I mean, we've been all over, and I just don't know where it ended up. I think it got lost with all the boxes." The words came out like a half-hearted attempt at covering his tracks, and I felt this knot tighten in my stomach. "It just feels so entitled, you know?" I said, my voice quieter now, masking the frustration building in me. "Like she's saying if we don't display it, someone else gets it? Like it's just her gift to give away?" "She's not trying to be rude," my husband said, trying to defend his mom. "She just wants it to be displayed. She's proud of it." I had to take a deep breath. The way he was trying to make excuses for her was making my skin crawl. It wasn't about the quote, it was about control. "Yeah, well, I didn't like it. I've never liked it," I said, keeping my voice even, but the words felt like they were clawing their way out of me. "Why is she asking for it back? She gave it to us, not to her next-door neighbor." My husband looked like he was going to say something more, but instead, he just shrugged. "It's no big deal. We'll just tell her it broke or something." I wanted to scream. It didn't just break, though. It was never something I wanted. It wasn't even displayed. It's just so rude of her to ask for it back after all these years. But I didn't say that. I just smiled. "I'm sure it's no big deal. We'll figure it out." I felt so defeated in that moment. My frustration was bubbling inside me, but I had to swallow it down. There was nothing I could do about the gift being given, nothing I could do about how my husband just brushed it off, but I knew then that something had to change. I couldn't keep swallowing all of this. "Do you want me to talk to her about it?" I asked, trying to keep my tone light, but I was dying inside. "No, I'll deal with it," he said quickly. "Don't worry about it." And just like that, the weight of it all hung in the air. I had to pretend it was no big deal, but my gut told me this was just the beginning. Mother-in-law was testing boundaries, and it felt like it was only going to get worse from here. The days after that conversation with my husband felt like I was walking around in a fog of irritation. I was still angry about the whole thing, but I tried my best to bury it. I told myself that it wasn't worth making a big deal about a frame, a gift, something that had been sitting in a box for years. But every time I saw my husband get defensive about his mom, or try to downplay the situation, I could feel the simmering frustration growing inside me. It wasn't about the gift anymore, it was about everything else. I started to think about all the other times mother-in-law had given us gifts. The annoying kitchen gadgets she'd insisted we needed. The hand-me-downs from her collections, that were clearly chosen to fill some empty space in her house, rather than something we could actually use. It was always something. Always a gesture. Always a way for her to insert herself into our lives, and I hated it. The worst part was that every time she gave us something, I was expected to be grateful. I had to smile, I had to say, thank you, even when I didn't want it. It's so thoughtful, I'd say, my voice flat, just to make her happy. But deep down, I knew there were always strings attached. Strings that tied me down, that made me feel like I owed her something. She gives us these things, but it's never just a gift, I thought one night, as I sat on the couch, staring at the television but not really watching it. It's always got strings attached. I could feel my anger bubbling up again, this time with a sharp edge. Every gift felt like a subtle demand, a silent contract that I had to fulfill. She expected gratitude. She expected me to appreciate it, but I was never allowed to say no. Then I remembered how she used to bring over homemade casseroles every time we moved. She'd say, "Oh, I thought you might be too busy to cook." But it always felt like a way for her to control what was in our fridge. She'd even tell us how to store the leftovers. "You should really freeze that," she'd say, as if I didn't know how to manage my own food. And when we tried to tell her we were fine on our own, she'd insist, "Oh, I just wanted to help. You don't want to burn out." And it wasn't just the physical gifts, it was the emotional ones too. The guilt trips, the little comments about how she was the one who always helped us, how we needed her. When I first moved into my own place with my husband, she acted like I was ungrateful for not calling her more, for not asking her advice on every little thing. I remember her saying, "I'm just trying to help, you know. It's so hard to be a young wife without your mom around." Every time she said something like that, it was like a pin pricking at me, a reminder of how little I was allowed to have my own space in this relationship. It made me feel like I wasn't allowed to breathe without her watching. And every time I tried to stand up for myself or push back, my husband would step in and try to smooth things over, telling me it wasn't a big deal. But it was. It was a big deal. I was tired of it, tired of pretending to be grateful for gifts I didn't want, tired of smiling and thanking her for things I had no use for, things that were just ways for her to assert control over our lives. And I was tired of my husband not seeing it. Not really seeing what was happening, how his mom's constant presence and manipulation was slowly suffocating me. How I was being worn down by the quiet guilt, the unspoken expectations that came with every little thing she did. It was like I was drowning, and no one could see it. No one cared that I was suffocating in politeness, drowning in all the things I was supposed to be grateful for. I didn't know what to do anymore. I wanted to scream, to throw everything in her face, to tell her that I didn't need her gifts, that I didn't need her help, that I didn't need to be controlled, but I couldn't. I couldn't make a scene. It was easier to just let it slide. To pretend I was okay with it, because that's what I always did. I kept everything bottled up until it exploded like it was now. But it wasn't going to explode this time. No, this time, I was going to take control. I was going to fix this, even if it meant upsetting my husband, even if it meant having a fight with mother-in-law. Enough was enough. The days after that conversation with mother-in-law felt like a ticking time bomb. My husband had told me he'd handle it, but every time I asked about it, he brushed me off. "I'll talk to her," he'd say. "It's fine, we're fine." But I knew it wasn't fine. Something was off. The tension was creeping in, and I could feel it every time we spoke about it. It was like he couldn't even see the problem, like I was overreacting. Every time I tried to bring it up, he just gave me some vague excuse about how he didn't know where the frame ended up after the moves. The same excuse. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore. One night, after another one of his typical "I'll handle it" responses, I snapped. "Why are you protecting her?" I blurted out, frustration burning in my chest. "It's just an ugly frame. Why are you lying to her about where it is? You know we don't want it." "I don't want it." My husband froze, his shoulders tensing, and he shifted uncomfortably. "I'm not protecting anyone," he said, his tone defensive. "I'm just trying to keep the peace. I don't want her getting upset." I shook my head, the weight of his words sinking in. "At what cost, though?" I said, the bitterness in my voice sharp. "What's the point of keeping the peace if I'm miserable? You're just avoiding the issue, just like always. You don't want to upset her, but what about me? What about us?" He looked at me, his brow furrowing. "It's not about that. I just don't want things to get messy. You know how she gets. I don't want to fight with her." A tight laugh escaped me, though it wasn't funny. "I get it. You don't want to upset her, so you just let her steamroll over me instead." My voice cracked slightly, and I hated myself for letting it show. "You let her make demands, and now you're lying to cover for her. What does that say about how you really see me? Do I not matter enough to you to even tell her the truth?" "I'm not lying to cover for her," he said, stepping closer, but I didn't back down. "I'm just trying to keep the peace. You don't understand. She's my mother. She gets emotional over the dumbest things, and if I don't do this..." I cut him off, feeling my chest tighten. "You're covering up for her because she's upset over a frame? After all this time? She doesn't even have the decency to just move on. She asks for it back like it's some sacred thing, and you're just going along with it." My voice was trembling now, but I couldn't stop it. I needed him to understand. This isn't about peace anymore. It's about her getting her way, over and over. And you're just letting it happen. He opened his mouth, like he was about to argue, but then paused. His eyes flickered with something regret, maybe, or guilt, but he didn't say anything. Instead, he let out a long sigh and rubbed his forehead. I'm not trying to hurt you, he muttered, barely looking at me. I don't want to fight, I don't want to make it worse. But I wasn't done. I had to say it. But it is worse. Every time you keep quiet or brush it off, it's like I'm invisible. Like my feelings don't matter. How many times do I have to ask for something? For you to stand up for me, for us, against her? He stared at me for a long moment, silence heavy between us. Finally, he spoke in a quiet voice, almost like he was talking to himself. I don't want to make things worse. I know you feel like I'm not taking your side, but I don't know how to fix it. It's not as simple as telling her the truth. She's my mom, and it's complicated. I shook my head, feeling the anger drain from me, leaving only a hollow ache. Yeah, it's complicated. But if this is what keeping the peace looks like, I don't want any part of it. The room felt smaller. My chest ached, and I could feel my stomach knotting as I took a step back. Maybe you don't see it, but this isn't just about the stupid frame. It's about how she keeps crossing boundaries, and you don't even care enough to really stand up for me. You protect her feelings, but what about mine? I don't even know what happened after that. He stayed quiet, looking lost. I felt lost, too. I wanted him to take my side, but he was still stuck between his mom and me, and I couldn't keep going in circles. The next morning, as I was sipping my coffee and scrolling mindlessly through my phone, I saw the notification pop up from my husband's phone. It was from his mom. My stomach sank as I clicked on the message. Just to follow up, I'd really like to have that framed quote back. If you're not displaying it, I'll just give it to someone else. It's really been sitting there long enough, and it's such a lovely gift. I'm sure someone else would appreciate it more. I stared at the message, reading it over and over, as if hoping something would change, like the words would magically rewrite themselves. But no, it was exactly what I feared. She wasn't just asking anymore, she was demanding it back, as if it was hers to reclaim. It wasn't just the gift anymore, it was her control, and it felt suffocating. I wanted to throw my phone across the room. It wasn't just about the frame. It was about how little respect she had for me, for my space, for my boundaries. She couldn't just let things go, could she? Every time she gave us something, it was with strings attached. And now, here she was again, asking for something back, as if she owned it. I stormed into the living room, where my husband was sitting on the couch, watching TV. He didn't even look up when I walked in, but I was too worked up to care. She's asking for the gift back, I said, my voice shaking with rage as I threw my phone on the coffee table. It's one thing to give something and expect gratitude, but now? She's asking for it back like it's hers to take? What the hell? Husband's name? My husband turned to look at me, his eyes widening in confusion. Wait, what? She? What did she say? She's giving it to someone else if we don't display it. Do you not see what's happening here? I threw my hands up in frustration. It feels like a test, doesn't it? She's testing us, seeing how much we'll bend before we break. Why does she think she gets to take it back? He sat there for a moment, mouth slightly agape, but he didn't say anything at first. His eyes flickered back to the TV before landing back on me. It's just a gift, babe. Don't let it get to you. I could feel the blood rushing to my face, and my hands balled into fists at my sides. A gift? No, this isn't just a gift anymore. She's crossing a line, and you're just sitting there, brushing it off like it's nothing. I could feel my voice getting louder. She's not just giving us something nice, she's giving us something that she expects us to use, to cherish, to thank her for. And when we don't, she comes back to take it like it's some property she can reclaim. How do you not see that? He sighed, dropping his head back against the couch. It's not that simple. She's just trying to be nice. I don't get why this is such a big deal. My frustration exploded. I couldn't keep it in anymore. This is exactly what's been bothering me. You always defend her. You always let her walk all over us. Every time she pulls this shit, you try to smooth things over. But at what cost? Husband's name? At what cost? I stood there, breathing heavily, feeling the weight of everything: my mother-in-law's control, my husband's avoidance, my own growing resentment all crashing over me. I couldn't take it anymore. I'm not doing this. I'm not letting her manipulate us like this. I want you to tell her it's over. We're not playing this game anymore. It's just a frame to you, but it's more than that. It's her trying to assert control over us, and I'm done letting her